big business has mastered the art of sales. In the small business is the service industry.
Absolutely.
So much of small business is service. And I think that it's a strength for small business because it does really come back to the relationships as to where you go through sales and that you have a sales process of working somebody through the emotional buying habit of getting them to say yes and, hey, I've got a sale. Services are a lot more about relationships and truly learning your customers and catering to them and taking care of their needs. And we are back with another episode of The Julius Files. I am your host, Jason Julius, and today we have an entrepreneurial chronicle. I got a pretty cool cat here to bring you today. We've known each other for a little bit. Zack McKillip, the founder and creator of Top of the Line Auto Detailing. Zack, how you doing today, brother?
Doing well, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, I'm going to be honest, you've detailed several of my cars over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But a solid small business that I was enthusiastic about bringing you on. Definitely, I'm thinking I'm still going to learn some things, but I definitely wanted to bring you on to tell your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that there's been some trials and tribulations that especially you were one of the people that were definitely touched and affected by COVID, but I like to start all of this with, I'm looking for a little bit of a backstory, and some people start at 2 years old and some people start at 20 years old, but point being, where did things start with you in life and how did things evolve for you to actually find your way into entrepreneurship? What does your journey look like before you found your way into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say, Jason, from a very young age, was just super motivated. I remember being 10, 11 years old, wanted to mow yards, and I wanted money. I wanted to have things. So, dad, mom, hey, get out there and do it. So I remember, creating posters and putting them on doors. Well, next thing you know, that grew into a nice little mowing business, landscaping business as a kid. And actually that went on until I was about 22.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had the hustle young and it actually developed into something.
Yeah, it did. It was pretty cool. It ended up fading away because I ended up getting into the auto detail business. But, that was definitely the start for sure. And that's when I learned really a big part of entrepreneurship was relationships, getting to know your people. And back then was a lot of older ladies that needed leaves raked or a yard mowed or weeds pulled or flowers watered or whatever the case may be. But
solving problems.
You got it. So that was probably my first tick was that. And then I realized that, at a really young age, it was, for me, it was all relationships. It was people. It was connecting with them. I had one lady, I remember I would take out her trash, or she just wanted somebody to talk to, but I learned that you could take that relationship and build that relationship with that person and turn that into a business. And not only are you making money, you're getting things done, you're helping people, all the way around. And I've really, for me, what it's been in life as business has been building relationships and connecting with people and, connecting on emotion. I just think that's so important.
Well, and because you've touched on like that's a major piece to the overall puzzle of life in general. Like, I think life is about connectivity, and entrepreneurship is about solving problems, and it's marrying the two. Is that connecting with people? Inevitably, you're going to hear what their problems are, and then it's finding out what do you want to do in business in general, and which one of those problems are you able to actually solve. But it all really does come back to that connectivity. But entrepreneurship itself, if you're going to solve problems for people, inevitably it's going to bring you your own set of problems to actually be in business in general. Because I remember when you were detailing my cars long before you had the nice building and setup over on Alto. But it was a progression and you were actually growing in business. So, let's talk about that. You got into auto detailing. How did that all come to fruition? And how did your progression actually move through time and scale? And what were some of the challenges you were facing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go back to high school, 2004, 2005 timeframe. Worked 3 jobs, had the mowing company, going to school, was in college classes part-time, and I realized there was a market for flipping cars. So I would buy old trucks, fix them up, brakes, oil changes, clean them. Well, that business started growing as I'm going to school. Man, I don't have time to clean these things. So my dad had always used a detail shop here in town. And I thought, I'm gonna call him up and see if he could make a deal with me on just doing these interiors of these old trucks that I was
So the whole thing with you started out with you're flipping cars and you need somebody else to detail your cars. Okay,
that's exactly right. Crazy, I know. And so again, a relationship was established. Well, getting into that, getting to know that owner of that company, and he came to me, probably a year and a half of us having that relationship. And I remember walking into his business, and he was sitting at his desk and he had his hands on his head and he was just really frustrated, almost in tears. And
the story of so many small businesses in itself.
And if I'd only known, but he said, Zach, I'm just in a tight spot. He goes, I need someone to help manage this. He goes, would you come work for me? And I said, yeah, okay, well, let me think about it. So negotiations started. I was a car guy, always a car guy, you know, and kind of long story short, I ended up starting working for him part-time, and this would have been my senior year in high school. And then that evolved rather quickly right after high school into a full management position with him. And really that's where I learned the trade, learned the art of the business, and that would have been 2005, 2006 timeframe. So that was kind of my entry of getting into the actual auto detail industry.
Interesting. I mean, and the thing is, and again, we come back to anybody can be into entrepreneurship, and it's a question of their journey of how they get there. Some people, like myself, that I just had this idea and I realized that coffee, it was no longer your mom and pop coffee. I didn't know anything about coffee. Coffee was not a passion of mine. I wanted to get into business, and I just jumped into it and kind of figured it out. Others, obviously, you evolved into the trade itself.
Yeah.
Did you end up taking over his business or just learning the trade as you were working with him?
Yeah, I learned the trade as I was there, and I was there a year and a half or so, and I was approached by a local car dealership. They were needing somebody to come in and run an internal detail department. And at that point in my life, I would have been 19, 20. Obviously, I didn't have health benefits. I didn't have some of the things that,
bigger businesses offer.
Absolutely, know, so it was enticing. So I left on good terms and went into that company and helped them run an internal detail division for about 7-8 months, and then actually moved into car sales, went into internet sales management.
Really?
I did for a very short amount of time.
And back then that would have been infancy of of internet sales management. Okay.
Yeah, we built everything on the old PCs and it just crazy stuff, but learned a lot. I learned a lot about sales and about people, and it wasn't just detailing cars. It was another form, but then taking that knowledge and running that into the business that I would then have at that point. So long story short there, my passion was cleaning cars. And I just, to be honest, I absolutely hated selling cars. I dreaded going to work every day. And I've always been one of those people, when I get to a point where in my heart and you just can't stand getting up in the morning to go do it, then you need to change it.
Yep.
You need to change it. And I knew my passion was detailing. So there was a day where a particular manager comes up and says, "Hey, Zach, I need you to take this car and go get it cleaned over CJ's car wash for me. Oh, and by the way, pick up our lunch while you're out." So
of course,
I was a young kid. Yeah. So I was frustrated. So I leave and end up over at CJ's car wash. And that's where I met Scott Perkins. And that's kind of where the whole so-called infancy of Top of the Line kind of began. So I remember going there, waiting in line, and I was very outgoing when I was younger, and I saw him out there. I said, "Are you Scott Perkins that owns CJ's Car Wash?" And yeah, I sure am. And so I introduced myself. Well, I was detailing cars on the side while I was working at the car dealership. And another business owner in town, Mike Woods, who a lot of us know, he had, I guess, told Scott about me. He goes, "Wait, are you that kid that's detailing all Woods' cars?" I said, "Yeah, matter of fact, I am." So gives me his card. We talk. He goes, "Well, I just built this car wash. I really want to get a detail shop started here. I think you'd be a great guy for the job." So left there, 2 weeks later, I was working for Scott. So I helped him create CJ's Auto Detail at CJ's Car Wash. Fast forward to 2008, business is going great, running good. Scott's like, you know what? Why don't you just take this thing over? We'll work out a deal, buy me out, and just lease for me. And I know detailing is really what you want to do. It's not the car wash side. So that's when I had to just say, jump in both feet and create a top of the line. And really the rest is history from that point.
Well, and you know, and the thing, I want to jump in here because you've made me realize something. And we talked about this offline, that 50% of this nation is small business. But I'm realizing something else too, like, because the difference between, you loved cars, but the difference between what you loved and hated was the difference between the sales and service.
Correct.
And I mean, like, big business has mastered the art of sales. In the small business is the service industry.
Absolutely.
So much of small business is service. And I think that it's a strength for small business because it does really come back to the relationships as to where you go through sales, and that you have a sales process of working somebody through the emotional buying habit of getting them to say yes and, hey, I've got a sale. Services are a lot more about relationships and truly learning your customers and catering to them and taking care of their needs. So yeah, I'm realizing that the 50% of the nation that is small business and employs 50% of the nation, it's in the service element by and large. And that was what you gravitated towards in general. And the thing is I'm learning other things, because I remember meeting you when you were doing work out of the shop that was on 31.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I did not realize that the whole, how everything was coming full circle, because I remember bringing cars over you to CJ's, and I mean, it was a huge accomplishment for you to build that building next door.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's crazy because we moved a few different times too. So we always had the CJ's location, and then I had an opportunity to, Chaplin's was a big detail shop here in Kokomo. A lot of people have lived here a long time. You probably remember Chaplin's down on Union Street. Well, I had an opportunity to buy that building and actually took over a large amount of their customer base. And that was in 2011. So that's when we opened our second location. So we had then the old Chaplin's location on Union, and then we had our location there at CJ's. Then fast forward to 2012, 2013 timeframe, the city came in, was doing everything they're doing downtown, and then we had to sell our building. And that's when we ended up on 31 in the back of the old Chrysler dealership.
Okay.
And then we had that location and our Alto location. And then in the midst of that, we did open a Tipton location for a short amount of time. I think we had that for about a year. And actually, we still have a lot of clients from Tipton, still clean a few car dealerships over there to this day.
Well, let's touch on that, because you said for about a year. And I mean, again, this is about the life's experiences. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I can talk about mistakes. That's I had 7 operations, and I had to get small before I could even think about growing and getting big again. So I was unaware of the Tipton location. I mean, how did that play out? What was your thought process? And then, I mean, if you don't have that Tipton location, then there had to be a close down and a little bit of pain as you were regrouping. What is it? What's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had an opportunity. There was another business that I knew that he had a Kokomo business and had opened a Tipton business, and he had some extra space. And he said, "Hey, what do you think about putting a detail shop over here?" You know, we get asked a lot of, hey, we're getting an oil change. I'd love to have my car detailed. So saw it as a big opportunity, and it was, and actually loved the Tipton community, and actually had a nice little gym going over there. But I'll tell you the hardest part, and it goes back to what you just said, is we were just getting so big, and I mean, business was fantastic, but if you don't have good people to back you up and help you, then you're left there holding the stick.
No, and I mean, and that is a huge struggle for small business in general, because the only way that you're going to scale is with people, and to find really good people. And then it's not just about individual people, it's about a collective group of people and all of their personalities. And as the entrepreneur, you have to hold all of those personalities together to keep them focused moving forward.
Absolutely.
And I have been my own self, a victim of my own creation, where I was not able to get those personalities to gel well, and it led to things falling apart, and it definitely led to some pain.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been there too. No question. And that was a big learning experience for me. The gentleman that was running it was from Tipton. He'd worked for me for a long time. He had a wonderful opportunity to go to another company, and we're still friends to this day. Absolutely no hard feelings. But then next thing you know, here I am, 3 detail locations. And in the midst of all this, I opened an outdoor power store business as well.
I remember that. Okay.
So I had that going on, and here I am in Tipton trying to keep that going, detailing cars, still trying to run both businesses in Kokomo, plus had the money. And it was just, I mean, it was rough. I mean, we figured it out, but then it starts wearing on your marriage and your children. And, you know, it was a good time in my life, but it was a rough time too, because I realized, man, my plate is just too full here, and I need to hone in the focus. And that's really when we said, you know what, I've got to close this store down, because I couldn't find the right person. I couldn't be there all the time. But we were very fortunate. The community of Tipton still supports us, still brings stuff to Kokomo. We offer a pickup and delivery service over there.
Really?
We do. And we were able to keep a couple of dealerships we still have to this day, because that was roughly, oh goodness, 7-8 years ago, to almost 10 years ago, actually.
Okay.
I think that was 2012 timeframe when that was going on. But so yeah, it was a learning experience for sure. And then to go from, then we had the 2 locations, and then we had the opportunity to have the building that we have now. And the idea for me was just centralize everything into one spot, one location. And I do remember talking about personalities. We had 2 locations, 2 different sets of guys, even though we were the same business, they never worked together before. Granted, we did the things the same way, but then those personalities had never interacted with each other before. And that was an interesting time too, because we essentially took 2 different shops of people and put them under one roof, and that was interesting.
I was going to say, how'd that work out?
Interesting for sure.
Well, because I mean, you took on something else that I know is, well, let's just say it's challenging. And anybody that has built a home, when they find out all of the little pieces that actually have to go into to building a home and all the decisions they have to make. I mean, like, you did a ground up build. So I'm like, okay, so not only did you have to bring all of these personalities under one roof, you started with raw land and actually built the building and got everything together. Good, bad experience. Would you do it differently now that you look back at it? And I'm sitting there thinking that, I mean, because when you're in, so many small businesses are working in their business, and they find it hard to pull back and work on their business. And then when you throw in raw construction to actually to follow through with bringing in everybody under one roof, I mean, I know that it was a proud moment when they turned over the keys and was like, okay, the building is complete. But I know that had to be rife with 1,000 different decisions to actually get to that point. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because it was a process all summer, you know, getting the building the way we needed it set up and ready, and then the excitement and then when we combined both the shops, and then we had some personality issues, and as I mentioned, and then I lost a couple good guys through that. I'm like, man, what did I do? You know, was this? And then, you know, you've got a huge mortgage payment sitting there, and just all of these other things, and it's like, did we make the right decision? And that was in 2018, was when we did that. And then, you know, moving forward into 19, things just got better, and we're clicking and doing well. Because towards that end of it, when you have that disturbance, some of it is preconceived notions, and then some of it is you just need a little bit of time to pass for everybody to actually set into their pace. So you're saying 19 was a really good year for you? Absolutely. Yeah. 19 was by far our best year financially, our best year, employee wise, customer retention. I mean, just a phenomenal year. And then you go to 20, which we'll get into that. Because the thing is, you're saying this and it's kind of making me reminisce, because it really, I hate to just, in a lot of ways, it was kind of like 17 and 18, I kind of started pulling my head out of my ass, and I quit making dumb mistakes, because I've long said that, like, small business or entrepreneurship in general, like, you don't move to the next level until you actually beat the level that you're on. But that means not being your own worst enemy and realizing, hey, I've got to learn and grow and quit making these same mistakes before I'm allowed to go to the next level. And I I had pursued personal development and education so much in 17 and 18 that in 19 I was having one of my best years, and it was really starting to pay off. And I rolled into 2020, and I'm like, 2020 is my year.
Yep.
It's going to be a great year. And yeah, by April 1st, everything was falling apart in America across the board. And I remember interviewing with one of the TV stations, and I was like, this is like a tornado, and there's devastation out there, and nobody's going to see what that devastation is until they actually come peek their head out to survey all of the devastation in general. And it, obviously you were affected by that. So, okay, it's 2020. How do we roll into to April, and what does that look like for you going through that?
Yeah, it was so obviously coming off of 19, you're on a high, things are awesome. We had all the right people, business was fantastic.
Economy was booming, gas prices were right, everything was rocking and rolling.
Got it. And I had said the same thing to myself that you just said. I was 2020 is a year, this is it. We're gonna get the debt paid down, we're everything's set to be perfect, and then late March hits. So we had a combination of things happen, and I'll tell you what, the last 2 years, I have just changed completely as a person and my way of thinking on a lot of things, and been very humbled too. Got a huge devastation, probably, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks before COVID was really hot and heavy, when, hey, shut down, close everything down. Mm-hmm. We had one of our biggest contracts that was 2 car dealerships here in town, and we had a contract with them for, we were their dedicated shop for probably almost 12 years, 11 years, roughly 35 to 40% of our business, and got a huge bomb dropped, said, hey, we're pulling, we no longer need your services. And they gave us about a 6-week warning. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget that night. I mean, that was a rough time in my life, because I knew what losing 35 or 40% of my business like that was going to do. Yep. Not only to me, but to the people that work for me. Because I've got one guy that's been with me since the beginning. He's been with me 14 and a half years.
That's awesome that you still have somebody from the beginning.
We do. He is a great guy, and I've got another one's 12, and a handful that are between 5 and 10 years. We've just got some great people. So instantly, where my head and my heart went was not only myself, but these guys and their families. Mm-hmm. You know. And it was rough. And then so it's like, what do I do? What do you do? And that's when I realized I had made a huge mistake of putting, so to speak, all your marbles in one basket. Mm-hmm. You know, it was easy because it was there, so we were going to do it.
You're not going to say no to the business, but yeah.
Of course not. But then growing and evolving the business around that particular customer who you just, there's a point, and I should have been smarter than that, but there's a point where it's just always going to be there, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it wasn't.
You start taking it for granted just because it gets to be comfortable. And no, I completely understand, because that is, I've seen a lot of small businesses that, and I mean, I'm dealing with that even with Vickers, that it's a scary moment, that if you have a small cluster of business that makes up such a large percentage of your business, all it takes is losing 1 or 2 of those customers, and it really will send a huge damaging ripple effect through the entire business. Sometimes it is by fault of your own, sometimes it's not by any fault of your own, and then obviously competition is competition. And I mean, if you ain't growing and you're not hungry, there's always somebody else out there that's looking. My big problem with a lot of that, because I'm curious as to if you dissected that side of it, it kills me to see that people are willing to, whether you want to call it a loss leader, or they're willing to undercut and literally take business from you in an unprofitable way, which has a huge effect on you and the people that you're there to support. And they're not even doing it in a profitable manner. So the way that they're doing it is it's not self-sustaining, and it's giving the other people, the service out there, a false sense of that you're doing somebody wrong, and you shouldn't be afraid to actually charge what you're charging, because you have other families to support, you got a business to support, and if somebody undercuts you, Well, they're not going to sustain that. Somebody else is almost like chasing that shiny thing, and they might get that service cheaper for 6 months, but that guy's not going to be able to survive. And that's, in some ways, it can be a strategy, or it can just be pardon my French, but a low character dick move. Right. But I should, cause I'm not making assumptions, but I'm curious as to, 30 to 40%. That's that. I know that feeling, that pit in your stomach that will paralyze you. I can imagine that moment.
It was probably, other than losing my father when I was 26, probably one of the worst things I've ever been through, to be perfectly honest with you. And in this particular situation too, was, it was done very professional. I mean, they came to us, and long story short there, this particular car dealer owns several dealerships, and he had an opportunity to have another detail shop from another community that he was able to be a part of and move it into his dealership. And from his side of things, I totally see why he made that decision. Unfortunately, we bared
you're the negative effect.
You got it. You know, and they've used us occasionally since then when they needed some help, and we never burn a bridge. But obviously, huge learning experience. So here I am sitting, back in this late March. Just I didn't want to go home and tell my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful. It was terrible. And then I'm just like, well, I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what's going to happen. So then COVID rears its head, and here we are with that. Well, then I've got customers calling. I mean, we're usually 2-3 weeks booked out, just one after another, canceling. Then the governor's saying, hey, shut down, and the community shut down. And I mean, I just feel like my whole world is falling apart, and many others are going through the same thing. And so my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, he works and worked for a online farmer's market that was home delivery. Well, COVID absolutely spiked their business just through the roof. Mm-hmm. So I saw a post on Facebook, and here I am, we're living off our savings, just trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do, through this time. And so he said, hey, we need some help down here. So I called my brother-in-law, and I said, hey, we're kind of shut down. We're doing minimal work. I'm just trying to keep the good guys that I've got that have been with me a long time busy. Do you need any help? Because at that moment, I had stopped paying myself out of the business. I couldn't. Exactly. I just couldn't anymore. And at that point, it's like we might have 2 months, 3 months if we were lucky. I mean, that's where we were at. So I had to come to a point where I've got to make income somehow. He goes, I need someone to stock shelves and essentially deliver groceries. I said, great, I'm in, what's it pay? $10 an hour, and here I am. I've got guys that make double that work for me, and here I am. Hey, let's do it. I got to figure this out.
Put the pride aside and do what you got to do to put food on the table. I respect it.
That was the biggest thing through this, and we'll probably touch on this a little more as we go on, but that was a big moment for me, because I'd hit that point in 19 where things were so good. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to become arrogant. Well, I've done this. I did it on my own. I worked hard for it. And those things may be all true, but in an instant that can all just go away. And I lived it. And to set that pride away and just go do what you got to do.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest, man, there's a lot of respect I got to give you there. One, because you were willing to do whatever was necessary to actually provide for your family and put food on the table. Two, because I started a business in 2005. So 2008 and 2009, those were some rough years.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was experiencing something that would be applicable in the future, because the economy, life, it is cyclical. And I remember very clearly thinking and saying in 18 and in 19, anybody that is starting their business in this time, they've never been through what's bad. And sooner or later, the tide's going to go out, and we're going to find out who's wearing clothes.
Yeah.
And I had no clue that it was going to happen the way that it happened, in the speed that it happened.
Right.
But we found out very quickly who was prepared to change gears and go into survival mode and make the necessary tough decisions that every entrepreneur will eventually find on their plate. And then you're sorting the strong from the weak, because whether people realize it or not, I mean, like there's hard decisions that have to be made, and all of those decisions not only have an effect on you and your family, but on other people and all of their families. And success in entrepreneurship is about being able to make those hard choices and change those gears. And everybody had it so good, and it was so easy to make money. Yeah. 16, 17, 18, 19, that when all of that happened in 20, I'm like, we had such a long time of it coming so easy. I knew sooner or later that we were just going to have a shift in the economy, but the way that it happened, I mean, it washed away. You never found out that they didn't have clothes on, because when the tide went out, it just washed them away that quick.
That's true.
And there was so much destruction. Yeah. And I'm not a victim, but like the government handled it bad. They handled it all bad. They handled it all wrong. I don't know if you want to call it intended or unintended. Small businesses paid the price. Big businesses accelerated and lined their pockets. I have extreme empathy for everybody that it affected, but in business, that's going to happen through cyclicality. But yeah, our own government screwed us by the way that they handled the entire debacle of 20 and 21. And it's only now that we're starting to come out of it. And I don't even know that we're necessarily coming out of it, because nothing helps when we're at a 30% inflation in a single year and $5 a gallon gas.
Absolutely.
But in any which way, let's kind of, you come through 20. How does that affect you, and where does it lead as you're running through 20 and getting into 21?
Yeah. So 20 was just a year of survival, no question. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, I'm working, I'm doing home deliveries, stocking shelves. I mean, just going back to the roots, but the business was clicking along. We were able to keep it going. And fortunately we had some savings, and I was making a little over here. Well, that position ended up growing into a traveling position, where I actually ended up becoming a contractor for them, and then traveling the country, opening locations for them. So for the end of 20 and then into 21, I'm working for this company and traveling all over the country, jumping on a plane every week. And you talk about changing. You've got a small business. I've always been home every night, wife and 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Now every Tuesday morning, Dad jumps on a plane and he's back on Thursday. And, we adjusted. We went through that. And so we made it. We survived. I mean, we got through 20. It was hard. We were fortunate we were able to keep our 4 really awesome, loyal guys that I still have to this day, and made it through that, and thought that, hey, business is a little smaller. I was loving what I was doing this traveling job. It was working. We had our life figured out. And now I'm kind of fast forwarding to the August timeframe of 21. Mm-hmm. I get a call on a Friday from the operations manager of this company, who I'd become very close to, and said, Zach, we're done. We've decided we're stopping all expansion. And the reason they had stopped expansion is they were just having trouble with employment issues. We were opening locations so quickly and doing such a great job, and there was a demand for what that company was doing, but then they were having trouble getting the people to run the locations. So then, the guy that opens the locations is out of a job. Yep. So then here I am, August 21, not only is now top of the line smaller and really just surviving. Yep. Now I don't have the job that I thought was going to keep carrying things on. So then I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to go to work for a local company here in town. And I'll mention their name because I think just so highly of them. That's Merrill Brothers. Okay. And Ted and Terry and especially Braden Merrill I'll mention. And
it's funny you say that, because they are on the list to get them in here on the podcast. Awesome. I service their account through the Scared Rabbit business and through the Vickers business, but I have never actually personally made their acquaintance. You hearing that just means, we need to make sure that we're actually getting them on the books so that we can tell their story.
They are absolutely amazing family, and Christian oriented, and just just wonderful people. I can't say enough good things about him. And I remember we'd been talking on and off through this period of me working for this other company and coming on working for them, and things the stars weren't aligning, so to speak.
Yep.
So I get that phone call on a Friday, and I picked up the phone and called Braden Merrill, who's become a good friend of mine. And I said, Braden, does your offer still stand? Explain my situation. He said, absolutely. He said, you can start on Monday. And
man, that's great.
It was, and it was a God thing, no question. I mean, just the way things worked out. So now here I am going into this company, working for Merrill Brothers, still having top of the line. Mm-hmm. In the midst of all this, one thing I don't know that a lot of people know, I don't even know that you are aware of this. In 21, January of 21, I actually sold half of the business.
Really?
I did.
No, I'm not aware of, but okay.
Sold half the business to a really good friend of mine, Isaiah Baker.
Okay.
Been a good friend of mine.
Really? Baker Contractor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since fourth grade, been friends, grew up together. We were at a point with top of the line with me working somewhere else, and cash flow is always an issue, it seems like, in small business. Isaiah stepped up to the plate and said, hey, we've always talked about doing something together. Let's step in and make this work and go. So he actually jumped in for the year of 21 and really helped to keep us alive, to be honest, and brought a lot of great things to the table. And we were still writing old paper tickets, receipts, and he said, well, we got to update all this. And I tell you what, just did some awesome things. So in the midst of all this, here I am working for Merrill Brothers. Now I have half the top of the line, not the full thing. And there's challenges with that too.
Absolutely.
No matter how good a friend or partner you have on both ends, it's challenging, for each of us. So we get to the end of 21, and that's when, working for Merrill Brothers, things are going really well, but my passion was just being a part of top of the line. And that's when Isaiah and I had a very lengthy conversation over a period of months. I actually bought him back out at the beginning of this year of 22. So January of 22, solely top of the line, is back in full ownership of myself. Learned a lot of things along the way. And that's when, just inside of me every day, I'm driving to Merrill Brothers. And as much as I loved them and loved what I did there, I wanted to be at top of the line. That's where my heart was at. And I would work a 12-hour day at Merrill Brothers, and then I would go to the shop to do what I needed to do there at the end of the night. And that was the best part of my day, was walking in there at the end of the night.
Yep.
And that's back to what I had said earlier. That's when I realized this is where my heart is. This is where I need to be. Now, how am I going to do it? I don't know. So just a lot of thinking and a lot of praying. And that gets us to April of this year, and decided to put in my resignation and jump back in full throttle with top of the line. And now that's all I do again.
That's awesome. I mean, that is a roller coaster.
Very much so.
But I mean, a roller coaster of survival, that's a testament to the human spirit itself. And some of the things that you went through, I'm like, I've been up on those contemplations myself. Partnerships are very, very hard, especially as a small business side of it, because you don't look to set up very clear lines of marcation and realistic expectations and duties before entering those types of partnerships. Right. And then you end up in those gray areas, and obviously you were able to work it out to make sure that the business wasn't disturbed as a whole. But I mean, Isaiah runs a solid business. He's got Absolutely. A solid name in the community. So, wow. So at this point, because I remember seeing your online post and I was almost taken back by it. But it all, everything happens for a reason, and you are right where you're supposed to be, and you have found your way back to where you are supposed to be. So how's business going now?
It's going well. It's going really well. It's almost, I say ironic, but really it's not. I stepped back in, and within a matter of, business was good, but then I don't know if part of it was just the hustle in me or people knowing, probably a mixture of everything, really, to be honest. And then things just really have taken off, and it was almost like kind of the dark cloud had kind of lifted. The biggest thing for me was just going back in and being that hardworking young man that I was, and never losing sight of that. You know, it was so easy when things were good. You get in even a bad routine really where, well, you know, I can leave for a little bit, or I'll go in when I get in. And not that you shouldn't be able to do those things, but the biggest thing for me that I took away from all this was stay humble. Don't lose sight of what the real purpose is, and go in there and work hard every day and do what you're supposed to do and take care of people, take care of your guys. And I truly believe the success will follow. I really do.
No, I mean, but the thing is that because I'm a big believer in like, you don't let your pride get in the way. That's more of an ego thing. But if you go in an honest day's work for an honest day's pay and you're really coming at it from the right perspective, then it's a sense of pride of being able to look at yourself in the mirror and actually know you're doing everything that you can do. So, I mean, I do want to circle back around to a piece just out of curiosity. I have seen it in many industries of supply chain disruption. For you, I'm sitting there going, it might have been a blessing in disguise when that dealer pulled 30 to 40% of his business, because if he hadn't, you still would have been addressing that later on with the chip shortage, where the dealers do not have any type of inventory. But I mean, what's that look like for you? I mean, what comprises your actual business now? Because if that dealer pulled his stuff away, I mean, what is top of the line? What services do you provide? What type of clientele are you actually serving? I mean, who is your ideal customer?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So we've always serviced several auto dealerships. So one thing that I learned is, instead of having marbles in the basket or in the jar, let's take a small dealer that maybe gives us 5 cars a week and then find that small dealer times 10 or 20 to make up for the large dealer that we lost. So that was one thing where our business model changed a little bit, was really kind of going after the small guy a little bit more. And not that we didn't help those guys before, but because we had all the big business over here, we weren't necessarily going after it. If they called us, we would help and we would be there.
Yeah, but you weren't aggressively pursuing it.
Okay. Absolutely. So that was a huge learning curve there. And what we've noticed is now we've got 15 or 20 really great small dealerships that send us a few cars a week, and that helps equal that number that we had lost before. And then another thing too is we've always done what we call private business, personal owned vehicles, you know, off the street customers like yourself. And that business, we've just really capitalized on that. So at one point, dealership business was 80% and customer base was 20. We're now at 60% private business, 40% dealer. So,
and you're diversifying the number of clients that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, at one point we would only do 4 or 5 customer cars a day, where now we're servicing 7 to 9 a day.
Okay.
Our numbers roughly, we're doing between 60 and 70 units, which is good. It's a good, healthy business. Pre-COVID, we were 100 cars a week, but obviously more overhead. It's amazing when you trim things down and really look at what you're spending, what's going in, and your margins really aren't that much different if you can just trim that fat back, so to speak. And we were forced to learn how to do that.
Yep.
And so now we're growing business back up to what it was, but with less fat.
Yeah. Well, because now you truly know all of your costs and where it makes sense for you to focus all of your attention.
Absolutely.
And on the other side of it though, I'm like, okay, you clean shit. So cleaning products were not in short supply through all of this. No. So you didn't really, for the products that you were using to complete your work, really no supply chain disruption?
Not bad. Not like I thought it would be. I really thought we had some trouble with aerosol. We use a lot of aerosol, so we did have a little bit of trouble with that, but it bounced back relatively quickly. One thing just here in the last month, we are starting to see some huge price hikes.
And that was where I was going to take you on that, because I'm like, I had to respond to somebody that was mad at me for my price increase on my pizza junkies. And I just very frankly responded to him, and I was like, look, dude, we've had 30% inflation this year. My price didn't go up. The value of the dollar went down. Milk has went from $2 to $4 a gallon. Gas from $2 to $5 a gallon. Everything is going up. This is not about greed. This is not about profit. prices have to be raised just so I can keep my doors open.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, cleaning products being essential or not as cleaning products, inflation has had a leveling effect across everything. So, I mean, have you had to take a good hard look at your pricing structure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we're still working on that now. The private side of things, we started increasing last year, and we had, I think, 2 increases last year. We had one at the beginning of this year. We're probably going to have one more, unfortunately. And that's where customers understand, and then they don't. You know, we're making what we've always made margin wise, or actually sometimes we're even taking a little bit of hit even by raising the price and getting the consumer to understand that. I think more people are now, just because with everything's just everywhere.
You can't deny that when you pay $4 for a gallon of milk, I mean, like, if you're paying for that kind of price increase on that baseline product, okay, everything across the board is being affected. 100%.
Yeah. So we're definitely working through that and trying to figure that out. Our dealerships were, to be honest, a little bit more reluctant, because it's such a constant flow. And so more subtle increases there. And there's a loyalty factor into that too, you know, where you've got a guy that's been in his car since I started 15 years ago. For me, and this is just the way I've been, right or wrong, there's a loyalty side of things that I'm a little old school and say, you know, man, he's always been here. Maybe we need to go up 10, but we'll go up 5. And maybe that's right or wrong. But that's just,
but those me. Right there, I mean, that's the hard decisions of entrepreneurship that people don't factor on a daily basis. But again, it is about keeping your doors open, and it's about survival. And people are not taking that into account of what the real story of entrepreneurship is, that times all of those accounts is something that you are always struggling with.
Absolutely. No question. And it's daily. It's every day. It's another decision. And did I make the right one? Did I make the wrong one? In the littlest decision and as you know, I mean, it can change everything. I mean,
exactly.
So
going forward, I mean, dreams, aspirations, how are you moving forward?
Yeah. So really the biggest thing is right now, focusing on the good crew that we have, taking care of those guys, maintaining, keeping everything going. And then just capitalizing again, kind of on the smaller dealers. And we've just here in the last month got a couple from actually Tipton, a couple more from Tipton. So we're excited about that. And just really just capitalizing on what we have, and one car is one more customer. And that's the way we're looking at it. And just the biggest thing for me personally, just stay humble and go in every day and work hard. And I think we're going to be fine. I think we've got some challenging times ahead of us, no question, all of us. Yeah. And we have to be really careful, you know, especially we're so directly connected to the car industry, the auto industry. You're always wondering, you know, are we going to call out dealership one day and they're not going to have anything, you know?
But towards the other end of it, on the car dealership side of it, a lot of these new car dealers have gotten into the used car space. I mean, that's been part of what has been blowing the prices up, because you got so much new money moving into the used car auction. But I'm going to assume that there's a hugely different story between running a new car through a detail operation as opposed to dealing with those dealers where they're buying used cars at auction that are just like, that requires full-blown auto detailing.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of what has helped us with the smaller dealerships, and even some of the bigger ones we still service they're way more into used cars than they used to be, and they need cleaned. And that's been a positive effect for us. I also feel too, on the private side of things, and I think that's another reason why we've grown on that side, is people, you know, cars are expensive. Sometimes you can't even find one that you want. So people are hanging on to what they have. And when I opened in 2008, I remember 2008 through 2010, constantly hearing people come in to get their car detailed. Yeah, I'm hanging on to what I got, but cleaning it makes it feel like a new one. And I feel like we're kind of going through that again. And we did very well in those years. So I think those are some of the things. You have a negative over here, but it can be turned into a positive in your business.
And that's where I'm a big believer, because people ask me like what advice, and I'm like, pay attention to what you are doing in the moment, be uber conscious of it, because sooner or later it will be applicable. you will be able to apply it to a future life's experience as a whole. So you went through all of those pieces, and all of that experience is now leading to you be able to make better decisions today and actually moving forward.
100%. Yeah. It's every day, every month, every year. You're going to school, essentially. You're in school, you're learning.
Well, and that right there is, I think entrepreneurs figure out that is just a fact of survival in entrepreneurship, is that it is a constant learning. I guess part of that where I get frustrated with people in general is I'm like, come on, your brain is like a muscle. Like, it'll rot away if you don't use it. So don't think I just got out of school or I just got out of college and the stage of learning is now over and behind you.
That's right.
Entrepreneurs figure out that learning is a lifelong lesson, so that you are constantly able to take the knowledge and turn it into wisdom because you successfully apply it to something new.
100%. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. 100% for sure. And this whole last 2 years, 2.5 years, it was a learning experience for me of just going back to school and rethinking in a different way than I probably ever would have thought of before. And I think out of any of those hard times, you got to take the good out of it and realize, hey, this did happen for a reason, but I'm going to take that positive piece out of it, learn from it, and grow from it. And I think that's the ultimate key.
And it sounds like because I've long said, like, when I was going through the hardest times, like, it sucked. I didn't have any real appreciation for it then, but I can look back on it now and I can be very grateful for the experience. It gave me thicker skin. It gave me stronger nerves. It built me as an individual you have highs and lows in life. Well, if you didn't have the lows, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the highs.
That's right.
And part of humans feeling first, you feel those highs and lows, and that's what gives you that appreciation. Nobody ever just has a straight line experience of life. No, that's not part of living in general. Do you have any specific ways or suggestions for how you've handled the stress in your entrepreneurial journey?
I tell you what, probably the biggest thing that I've learned here, and I keep talking about these last 2 years.
I think these last 2 years are going to be talked about for a long time to come.
I do
because
too.
They were a pressure test, if nothing else.
No question. For me, it was two things. Getting back to my roots and just having the great support that I had of my wife and my family. But I'll go back to my faith. And that's where that piece of me getting to Merrill Brothers was really, I think, God's way of getting my faith built back up inside and realizing the focus needs to be on Him. And that ultimately is every day when I get up, first thing I do is thank Him and pray for the day. And that is the only way for me that I can truly handle it, because without Him, I couldn't do it. And for me is just knowing that there's someone that I can go to, I can talk to by myself while I'm driving, whatever the case may be, and know that it's going to be okay. We're going to take each day by day. And that's really the biggest way how I handle my stress, is just having that faith. So,
in key drivers behind your entrepreneurial journey. I know that's a tough question, but what has driven you, and what are you? You are a veteran entrepreneur at this point. So what key metrics, what key drivers are you putting in front of you to keep you pushing forward? Because I think, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yep.
So you always got to be looking to innovate. Well, I know just a little bit about the auto detailing business to know that there have been innovations that have actually come up in the industry. What are you seeing? What kind of goals are you setting for yourself moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, back to the drivers, I would say for the longest time, it still is, but as I was young, when I started, when I was 20, I'm 35 now. So it was success. It was always the next thing, the bigger thing. It was always success. Always having to prove myself. Didn't go to college. Right out of high school, as I mentioned, in the detail industry, and I had a particular uncle in my family who just never supported me and always just put me down because I didn't take the university route. And that was a huge driver for me for a long time. It's like, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. I'm going to make it happen. And I'll never forget 3 years ago, I get a text from him, just how proud he was of me. Just couldn't, this was in 19.
You don't have to go to school to learn and get an education.
100%.
That's so I'm just, I felt like I needed to make that point.
And I'm glad you did.
Because I've said before, like, you know what, if I got to go to a doctor, like, okay, tell me you got an education. I don't talk to me about brain surgery without telling me you got years worth of education. Outside of that, I mean, like, I've seen people educate themselves to pass bars without actually going for years worth of education. There's nothing wrong with educating yourself. You don't have to wait to enlist in a college program.
100%. I fully agree. And I think it goes back to the kind of person you are and how you're built. And as entrepreneurs, we're definitely built a different way than the others. That's one thing I learned when I was working for somebody else that I hadn't done in 13 years at that time, was I'm not built to go into a box every day and clock in and clock out. And for most people, that's security, that's safety, yes, that's what I want.
No, and some people need to clock in and out to earn a paycheck, but an entrepreneur doesn't need that clock there to work.
You got it. And for me, it was the opposite, where the work felt like prison, and the risk and not knowing if I could even make money that day, that was more safe to me than knowing this is what I had. And very strange, but anybody that's a true entrepreneur, a light bulb comes on and they're like, oh, I know what you mean.
And because I've long said I'm not any better or any worse, but I know that I am different. I know that my brain operates a little different than the average person out there. And I mean, you touched on that. It's a crazy, almost weird thing. But when you find others and they say the same thing, okay, there are more of us, But so definitely the drive would be success. And now my motivation is really, to be honest with you, is my family. I've got 3 beautiful children. My oldest daughter, she's 11. She's still saying to this day, Dad, I'm going to run the detail shop. So there's a part of me that now it's legacy. I'm excited to keep Top Line going and keep building it and growing it. If she wants to do it, great. If she doesn't, that's okay too. She may change her mind, but it's driving me to keep pushing and keep it going and maybe have something there for her one day. Well, I mean, and towards that end of it, I mean, like, how do you manage or deal with work-life balance? Like, and don't get me wrong, because I'll be the first to say, I don't believe in work-life balance. I'm like, there are things that you do to make money, and there are things that you do that's it's not for the purpose of making money. I just want to enjoy life. But work-life balance has become a major, I don't know, keyword and topic as of late. I mean, where do you stand on the words and the topic itself?
I'll tell you, I'm probably a poor example of it.
I think most entrepreneurs are a poor example of what the classic thought definition is of work-life balance.
Yeah, it's, for us, my wife and I have been together 17 years. So in 15 of those 17, we've been on our own, and my wife, she's a stay-at-home mom. And so the business is solely what supports our family. So we've just become accustomed to, like, work is life is work. It's just kind of, but I will say, as I've gotten a little bit older and then going through the experiences we went through the last couple of years, man, time is so important, especially when the kids are small. So just taking those small moments where my son, who's 3, we have these lights on our bushes and I change the batteries on him. And I'm always in a hurry. I'm always busy. And he's all about Dad right now. And I had to stop myself the other day. And this is kind of getting into that, where I just need to stop, slow down, let him walk out here with me, held my hand, and I showed him how to change the batteries out. Not a big deal, right? But that's just such an important moment. And then remembering to slow down, even if it's 5 minutes, take those moments, soak them up. That doesn't mean, hey, if my phone rings and there's a situation, or because it's 24/7 when you work for yourself.
Absolutely.
Handle it, but just know, take the small little moments of time and enjoy them. And I think also too, it's not just quantity of time, it's the quality of time too. And I think that's one thing sometimes we think we just need tons of time. Well, it's the quality of time that we have as well.
Exactly. So, I mean, I like to talk about principles of success, both in life and business, but where do you come out when it comes to books, self-help, that type of thing? Do you got any, what do you use to feed your brain?
So I'll tell you, my biggest thing that I do are my mentors. I've been blessed to just have so many wonderful men in my life that are other entrepreneurs, that are business owners, and is just having these kind of conversations. I mean, that has been the food for me, to be able to sit down and have a hard conversation of saying, I think I made a mistake. This is what I did, and be able to be 100 about it, be real, and then learn. These guys have been in business 30, 40 years, whatever the case may be. Just be a sponge and soak up that knowledge and bounce things off. And that's 100%. That's my food. And I've been so blessed to have those guys to be able to do that.
I want to ask about, just touching on that my mentor, and I mean, now I've let's just say I've added a couple more to it, but my longtime mentor, he never really tells me what to do. He'll listen. He'll tell me when he thinks that I'm on track in general, but he tells me stories of his own past experiences and some successes and failures. And then I feel like it's my own personal responsibility to find the lessons in it and maybe bring it back to him and say, this is what I heard. This is the message that I got out of it. I mean, when it comes to mentors, have you found that they're more willing to forcefully tell you what you're doing wrong and where you're doing it wrong, or has it been along the lines of just more of a listening and guiding along the way?
Yeah, I would say that the particular mentor that sticks out in my mind when you talk like that was very, very similar to what you're saying, where it was never telling me what to do, but he'd say, well, here's what I did, and here's how I handled this situation that was similar. Mm-hmm. And then I'm processing it in. And then it's kind of neat to then go 2 years forward and then talk about that situation where he gave that particular advice, and he'll say, I remember when I told you that, and then I watched what you did. And it's just very interesting to see. And then as we've grown together too, I will say he's more apt to be a little more blunt now. And I've asked for it too. I said, just tell me, just tell me. And so it's been interesting, and it's just been so, I don't know the word I want to say, but it's just been amazing to have those people. And if you have those people in your life, to any entrepreneur that's out there, or anyone that wants to become one or thinks they are one, find those guys, those guys, those men, those women, and just soak up that knowledge.
Well, no, because I mean, I guess I will be a little bit more direct about it. One, I mean, that's being blessed, and I mean that, and having that grateful attitude and mindset. But I do want to say, from talking to other mentors and from trying to evaluate that, if you find yourself with anybody that they start telling you what you should do, I'm gonna sit there and advise you don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Because a good mentor will give you those stories, and they will give you examples and leave you to make your own decisions, because accountability and owning your own shit is more important than anything else. And a good mentor will not come in and just tell you what you should do. They will leave it open for you to see. Are you going to receive what they have to say? Are you going to learn and grow? Are you going to find those lessons? And they're able to be there as a resource and as a, come tell me your problems, and I can tell you how I solved similar situations. What you glean from it comes back to, that's your responsibility, so that you're holding yourself accountable in your own journey. No, I literally, that Mick Owens has been my mentor for almost 15 years. That man has only told me to do something one time, and I recognize that one time. I recognize the importance of it, and I'm so glad that I listened to him. But I'm sitting here looking back at the overall going, he never told me to do anything. The one time that he picked up the phone and called to say, you should do, I listened to him, because I realized that there had been a pattern of support and of storytelling and of trying to literally mentor without telling me how to run my own business, that I took it serious as a heart attack the one time that he told me. And what he told me was, and this was back in the 08 and 09, if you don't shut it all down and come back to Kokomo and just concentrate on Kokomo, you're going to lose everything. And in that moment, I shut down 4 stores in the matter of 30 days, and I came back to Kokomo, and he was exactly right. Had I not come back and focused on the operations in Kokomo, I would have lost it all. And I have such a deep admiration and respect for those mentors in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I'll be honest with you, until you mentioned it the way you said it just now, as you're asking me this question, I'm going through my head, you know what? He never really did tell me. He always set me up for making my own decision. And I think you're exactly right. That makes a good mentor. No question.
Well, and I mean, I really believe that a lot of success when it comes to entrepreneurs that do succeed is personal accountability. And I'm big in my own culture about radical candor, but part of radical candor is being radically honest with yourself, because we're all capable of being our own worst enemies in general. But victimhood is not respected. And the buck stops at you as the entrepreneur, and that's the hard truth of that responsibility, and that's why there's so many ways for businesses to fail. But brother, I have a new level of respect and admiration for you.
Appreciate that,
and I wish you just all the success in the world.
Thank you.
And again, you are a Kokomo business, but we all still have to have a digital presence out there. So like, where can people find you? Like your story, to do business with you, to reach out to you. Where is your digital footprint out there? How do people go about making contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the best way for us would be follow us on our Facebook page. We're super active on it. So reach out to us on there. Our email's on there, obviously phone number. And we'd love people to stop by and see us too, the good old face-to-face. So just
Facebook at Top of the Line?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to wrap this up, but I want to say that I mean, definitely rate the show and share the show, but anybody that knows Zach, anybody that's familiar with Top of the Line, like share this show and bring the man some business, because I can personally attest, after doing business with him for the last decade. I mean, I live out of my car, so I'm not overly proud of the car that I give him to clean, but when it comes back to me, it feels like I'm starting in a brand new car all over again. So, brother, I wish you all the success in the world.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it. So until next time, you guys have a good day.